When peace puts an end to war orders, factories close, men are thrown out of work. A long and bitter era of strikes begins.
In 1917, we were at a point where the economy was slowly grinding to a halt. As we start to concentrate economic power in the corporate structure, a core of the economy dominated by 200 corporations is starting to close in on the nation.
Soon, almost all Americans would share their disdain for corporate America. What caused the stock market crash? Too great a portion of national income was going to too small a percentage of the population.
Hoover was an ideologue who was convinced a capitalist system must operate in a way in which the fetters on it from government are the least.
Businesses and factories closed by the thousands, forcing more and more citizens into unemployment lines. Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany largely because he offered a desperate nation a plan for dealing with an economic crisis. In the 1932 presidential election, the American voter likewise sought a New Deal.
Many of his programs did work. The American infrastructure was being rebuilt, and they did get people out of the unemployment lines. There was a momentum that was helping to end the Great Depression on that.
Adolf Hitler's Germany was fully committed to a massive program of militarization, modernizing its armaments and instituting a military draft. 4 years later, in 1939, the Nazi war machine would prove that its boasts and threats were far from idle.
Lindbergh, the great American hero, was a leader of the movement to stay out of the troubles of Europe. Joe Kennedy, President Kennedy's father. Many Irish Americans, after the war itself started, were reluctant initially to go help Great Britain, whom they saw as the oppressor of Ireland. A message from Pearl Harbor arrived. The biggest line in New York was to get registered for the draft.
This was not necessarily a time of sweetness and light, but it was a time where the effective majority of the country could unify and engage in a war effort. In other words, individual motivation went up, there was a sense of purpose, suicide rates went down, reported mental illness went down, and internal unrest dropped way down. There were very few demonstrations. There were, of course, laws against strikes, but also there were voluntary forbearance from industrial conflict of all sorts.